Our main character loves superheroes, and she cosplays at Avengers Con. I like her already. What is up, Flick fans? Welcome back to my channel. I've been able to see the first 2 episodes of Ms. Marvel dropping on Disney Plus this Wednesday. I need your thoughts down below on whether or not you were extremely excited for this show and if you think it's going to firmly fit in to what Marvel is doing in Phase 4. If you guys enjoy this content, let me know. Be sure to subscribe, and let's get into it. So, Ms. Marvel introduces us to Kamala Khan, a Muslim-American teenager growing up in Jersey City. She's a superhero mega fan with an oversized imagination, particularly when it comes to Captain Marvel. Yet Kamala feels like she doesn't fit in at school and sometimes even at home. Until she gets superpowers like the hero she's always looked up to. Life gets better with superpowers, right? That's like the ultimate tagline. Everything's going to be good, isn't it? This series is rated TV PG, and honestly, it's fun for the entire family. A little bit of language, mild violence so far, but nothing that we haven't seen in the Marvel Cinematic Universe before, and that's what I'll say about the overall concept of Ms. Marvel. It firmly fits into the MCU and doesn't do anything drastically different with its story. For me, what sets this show apart and what allows it to, and I believe will continue to allow it to flourish, is the style injected into this show and the lead performance, where Iman Vellani had so much that she had to prove with what I believe is her first role, which is crazy to me because she's amazing in this series. But being able to just sink into this character and become so likable after an episode, really half of the first episode, I'm like, yep, I immediately not only relate to certain aspects of her character, right, her love of superheroes, struggling, trying to find herself, and just the way that she's going to navigate through high school without powers, and then once we get those powers, for some reason, it doesn't get any easier. Life actually becomes harder with superpowers. Imagine that. But it's a great story, and it's one that a lot of people are going to be able to fall in love with, mostly, again, because of her performance. She's wonderful, she's charming, she's quirky, she's awkward in front of people in high school. She'll do things and say things that she immediately regrets, like, why did I say that? Why did I say it like that? And I'm like, yep. And those elements of the show, and really the series as a whole, reminds me much more so of like a Spider-Man Homecoming type of series, even though I actually think, transitions, editing, all of those things, this is a little bit more stylistic than that, and we'll get into that, rather than what I think a lot of people are going to look at and say, oh, it's just going to be like Captain Marvel. And I wasn't in love with Captain Marvel, the movie. And I'll be honest with you, I believe Kamala Khan and this character, and then what this story is thus far, is more interesting than Captain Marvel, and is more interesting than Carol Danvers' story. I just believe there's more charm here, and it's going to be able to reach out to so many more people because we've all been there and done that. We've all had to navigate through high school. But Austin, how do they change this show up? I mean, we've seen countless times of superheroes trying to manage high school and balance that. Okay. What does this show do that goes beyond that concept? Well, for me, it all starts with her family life, her home life, and that relationship with her mom and dad, where they really don't understand her love of Captain Marvel. They don't really understand her love of superheroes, and, establishing that Pakistani background, not diving extremely deep in it in the first 2 episodes, but giving us just enough to where we can understand what her parents' belief system is compared to her just trying to live a normal high school life, yet balance that with her home life. It becomes a bit more difficult than she ever imagined. Now, she's surrounded by, one great friend in particular, but a couple of great friends and support systems, people that she's able to lean on. Someone else comes in the first 2 episodes where he's starting to push her more into the romantic side of things, to the point in episode 2, I'm like, don't forget the people that got you there, especially the balance that comes with that. But then what pushes her to love superheroes in the first place? The idea of living in a world where all of this stuff actually happened, and finding that one superhero that you can resonate with and relate to. And the first episode, we get this incredible animated-like sequence that shows you why she believes that Captain Marvel is the best of the best. And a lot of these, Easter eggs and things that they're pulling from other movies that we've seen, it's cool to see, but in a different format. And that's what I enjoyed about this show the most. We are constantly getting all of these quirky editing techniques and going from live action to 3D animated graphics on screen to 2D storytelling to interesting transitions to all of these things that I did not expect in this show. And it kind of reminded me of like Mitchell's versus the Machines. Not on that level, of course, but just the creativity that was flowing through that film. I felt that in this. Bisha K. Ali, I thought, did a wonderful job of telling a somewhat familiar story, but injecting life in it to the point to where you not only love this main character and you're interested to see where she goes, but they're creating a somewhat interesting plot surrounding her living her high school life. And at the end of episode 2 is when I really believe we're starting on our journey because, getting the powers, figuring out the powers, all of those things is interesting. But what's the actual story here? What's the plot? And we haven't really gotten into that other than just her everyday life. That was interesting enough for me, but now we're setting out on our path, and I'm curious to see where that goes. I think a lot of the valid complaints, though, are going to be surrounding her powers and what they did to switch those up and go from more of a Mr. Fantastic-like power set in the comics to, the Captain Marvel-like beam and pew-pew powers. It switched up, I think, enough to keep it somewhat fresh, but it's not what she was able to do in the comics. Now, I understand why they're doing it, to be able to tie this into Captain Marvel and bring everybody together in Miss Marvel. I get it, but there were things about her powers that I just thought didn't work as well on screen, right? They look fine. They don't look great. And they're interesting, and I believe when we actually get battles between her and whoever our villainous characters are, they're going to be fun. But I don't know if I'm completely on board with her powers yet. Again, there were scenes and there were really moments where I'm like, I just don't know if the idea is translating as well as it could. Again, it's a minor complaint because at the end of the day, they're going to do enough with that to make it interesting. But I do wish that they would have been handled in a different way. And this is coming more from a place of, knowing Miss Marvel in the comics. And I'm sure you're going to hear a lot of stuff online and people complaining and freaking out and throwing tantrums when they never actually read the comic. They're just like, oh, she's not what she was in the comics, even though I've never read the comics. So you're going to get that. But then you are going to get those people that know her powers and understand that they've changed them completely. And that will, rightfully so, I think, bother some people. But for me, it doesn't compromise what we have with the tone and that fun humor and those beautifully awkward moments between these kids. There's just so much about this show to like, but it all starts with Iman Vellani, who, again, steals everything. I just think she's great. By the way, if you're here and enjoying this review, the best way to help this video is to drop a like and a comment down below. Let me know, were you excited for this? I was excited but hesitant. I'm like, it could be cute. And it is cute, and it just has so much more style than I anticipated. So here are my final thoughts. The first 2 episodes of Miss Marvel are genuine and fun. Iman Vellani is as wonderful as you expect her to be, and the way her story is presented has an unexpected amount of style. The insecurities of growing up will hit home with many, and I'm excited to see where this goes. I guess my nitpicks are when it comes to the powers and not entirely knowing where it's going at this moment, but I'm enjoying living in that moment with her. But we'll see. We have 4 episodes. If I had to score it, I'm in like the 7, 5, 8 range. I want to see how we bring it home before I give that score. So stay tuned to my Letterboxd, all of those things. We'll be talking more Miss Marvel, especially when we do an updated Marvel Cinematic Universe tier list on this channel after I see Thor. All right, guys, you're the best. Hey, Jurassic World. I'm seeing that tonight. See you soon.